Thousands of scientists from all around the country, indeed all around the world, are gathered here to listen to hundreds of reports and studies. And of all the papers being given, the one with perhaps the most intriguing title of all is There Life on Earth? By Dr. Carl Sagan of Harvard University and the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory. What is that title, Dr. Sagan, Life on Earth? A joke of some kind among scientists?
No, not exactly. The point is to emphasize the difficulty in detecting life on Earth from even nearby to the Earth from a satellite, for example. We tend to think that we've restructured the whole face of the Earth and that we've made enormous changes on the planet. But in point of fact, if you look at the Earth from a camera on, say, the Tyros or Nimbus meteorological satellites, you find that there's virtually no trace at all of life on Earth, intelligent or otherwise. The largest cities are entirely invisible, the vast highway networks, bridges, roads, dams, canals, great walls, they're all absent. And these are on photographs which can see things as small as a few tenths of a mile across. Now, the Mariner 4 photographs of the planet Mars could see things which are only a few miles across. That is, they were about 10 times worse in what we call resolving power, the ability to discriminate fine details, than these Tyros and Nimbus pictures of the Earth, which don't show any sign of life on Earth. So one conclusion which could be drawn is that it's premature to exclude life on Mars from the fact that no life showed up.
If they saw Earth as poorly as we saw Mars, they might conclude there's no life here.
Oh, I think they would be very tempted to conclude this is an uninhabited planet for many reasons. I say they, we're talking metaphorically. I don't think that there's a race of intelligent Martians, but it would be extremely difficult to detect life on Earth. In fact, the one way that you could do it is not with photographs, but with radio telescopes. Our television transmission happens to penetrate through the ionosphere of the Earth, and a very modest radio telescope on, let's say, Mars, could easily detect our television transmission, and probably if there was a great deal of analysis, they could deduce it wasn't entirely random noise. They'd probably see there was some mild sense to it. But I think it's a very sobering thought that the Beverly Hillbillies are our interplanetary emissaries.
What is your feeling beyond Mars? Do you think there is life, intelligent life, perhaps of a form we can't even guess at now?
Well, this is an interesting question. We think that there are an enormous number of planets, more or less like the ones in our solar system, going around other stars, both in our Milky Way galaxy and in other galaxies beyond. Whether these planets are inhabited, however, is another question. We would have to know how likely it is for the origin of life, and we would have to know how likely it is for the development of intelligence capable of constructing a technical civilization. Another factor is the lifetime of the civilization. If they destroy themselves very rapidly, then at any given time there may be very few. And it's not out of the question that civilizations destroy themselves rapidly. It's not out of the question that we're about to. But you see, one of these questions can be approached experimentally. That's the likelihood of the origin of life. And the experiments that have been performed suggest that under very general conditions, typical of the early history of almost all planets, life, in fact, does arise. But what we can't look at in the laboratory is the probability of the evolution of intelligence. It just takes too long. We don't have billions of years to experiment in the laboratory. And even the question of the origin of life is one that's plausible but not proved. If we were to find just one example of life elsewhere, for example on Mars, then we would be much more justified in making this grand generalization that life is not restricted to our planet, but is a pervasive component of the universe.
Are you not willing to guess?
I don't think it's a question of guessing. It's not an article of faith. It's something to be experimented on and observations to be performed. I think it's a bad thing to make an opinion when there isn't enough facts. There's no doubt that it would be of extraordinary interest if one were to find signs of life elsewhere, intelligent or otherwise. But if we knew, we wouldn't be looking. And that's why I think we must make a very careful search, and I hope Mars will be very thoroughly explored for even the simplest forms of life would be of the greatest significance.
Thank you. And so And of course, this is not just wild blue yonder talk. The fact is that the space agency has plans to explore the face of the moon before the end of this decade, and after that, the planets beyond. Bill Stout, CBS News, Berkeley, California. Is the point then that if creatures, pardon me? Is the point then that creatures on other planets, if they saw as little of the face of Earth as we've seen of Mars, would conclude there's no life here?
Well, mumble, mumble, mumble.
What is your feeling? Is there intelligent life, as we understand that word, on other planets, in other systems?
I don't think this is a matter of faith. I think it's a question to be investigated.
I think that's all we need. And that's all you have.